Hello, and welcome back to Murders on the Yangtze River. I just saw this little message down here while booting up the game, which I didn't actually see before, which I imagine is only there in the English, well, if you've set the game's language to English, but it's still quite interesting to see that. Anyway, we will continue from where we left off last time, which was this one. Yep, we found our third dead body, I believe, on the mysterious ship. Not mysterious, the mystic ship in the mist. So yeah, the serial killer is on the loose, and we're gonna try to catch them. Alright, so here's the dead body. There's a bunch of stuff we can investigate. Let me talk to you first. Shipmaster Lou. Why am I doing that voice? Shipmaster Lou, there are still a few questions I would like to ask you. Don't hesitate to ask, Mr. Shen. Shipmaster, how did you and Old Ling get to know each other? Old Ling used to frequent the ship, but then he fell on hard times and stayed on board to work. Fell on hard times? I heard Lian Xing say that Old Ling used to be a guard for his family. But when his daughter caught a strange disease, he left the Woos in search of a cure. The Woos. Even after spending all of his money, he still lost a child. Thus are the trials and tribulations of being parents. No one has... Alright. Has Old Ling ever been on unfriendly terms with anyone? He's a martial artist. He must have made a few enemies back in the day when he traveled the land. I can't think of anyone on the ship who would want to kill Old Ling. What is his relationship with the other crew members on board? Old Ling's quite closed off. He doesn't talk much to anyone else except for Elle. I hired Elle to work in the engine room, but Old Ling wouldn't let her touch the steam engine. Wait, her? He only gave her simple jobs like working the engine telegraph, protecting her like his own. Wait, is Elle is Elle a woman? About Elle. Shipmaster Lo, you said that Old Ling and Elle were like father and daughter? Yes, Elle has been a child suffering from cruel fate. Her parents are both dead, and she was almost maimed for theft before Old Ling saved her. Old Ling believed she was a good kid after finding out she stole to pay back her parents' debt. He helped her pay off part of the debt and brought her on board to work on the ship. Elle also treasured their relationship and treated Old Ling well. Elle, come here. Okay, I can kind of see it, but I did not expect that. The red circular valve is installed on the piping connected to the boiler. Seems like it adjusts the cylinder's air inflow and the steam turbine's rotation rate. There are meters on both sides of the valve. The pointers are vibrating slightly. The position of the valve is in a fully open state. The pointer also indicates maximum value. I have a strange feeling about the steam valve. Something seems to be peculiar. Mr. Shen, only you could operate such a complex steam turbine properly. I do not deserve this praise, Shipmaster Lo. It wasn't all that complex now. A set of huge cogwheels powered by the steam engine are rotating rapidly. At the center of the bowl gear is a transmission shaft connected to the paddle wheels outside. There is the pin. The murder weapon pierced him through the heart, dealing him a fatal blow. The position and angle of the stabbing are consistent with Madame Yin's case. It's obviously the same murderer, but the weapon has changed from a candlestick to a hairpin. Oh. The murder weapon is a hairpin with a green jade inlaid at the end. John, I recall Madame Yin wore a hairpin identical in design. Yes. I had just discovered Madame Yin's hairpin was stolen, yet now it has appeared here. The murderer must have had a special reason to use this hairpin as a murder weapon. Compared to Madame Yin and Hao Chu, Old Ling's facial expression is relatively peaceful. The corners of his mouth are even, slightly raised. John, what's the matter? My brother, his expression before he died, the corners of his mouth were also raised. Could it be that... That's just your imagination, John. After death, the facial muscles of the deceased are flaccid, meaning they are expressionless. When a sharp blade pierces the heart and causes a rupture, the victim dies instantly. His calm expression is just a result of muscular flaccidity after death. This case has nothing to do with Brian's case, and there are still homicides taking place. What you need to do now is put your nose to the grindstone and your shoulders to the wheel. Yes, you're right. No defense wounds were found on the body of the deceased. Based on the surface features, there are no traces of drug influence. That's strange. Anyone would have dodged or fought back. Not to mention he knew martial arts. The joints of his body are still flexible. Rigor mortis has yet to set in. There are signs of liver mortis on the legs, which fade in color when pressure is applied. Is the body already showing signs of liver mortis? Considering the high temperatures in this room, the decomposition process must have quickened. Taken together, Old Ling's time of death is close to Madame Yin's? That's correct. The murderer killed 2 people in a short period of time without leaving excess traces. But that can't be true, right? Because, well, okay, let me rephrase that. That can still be true, but I'm pretty sure we saw Madame Yin with her hairpin in when we, transported her to the cabin where we get rid of the bodies, you know. Not where we store them. So, that means one of 2 things to me. Either the time of death does not match up. Like, there's a bigger time difference there, and for some reason, that's just... we have it wrong here. Or, the murderer did murder Old Ling with a stabbing weapon. Now, that might be the pin, or it might not be the pin. But they came back afterwards to stab them with the pin. I will keep it in mind. John, we've encountered quite the cunning opponent this time. The deceased has rough hands. There are thick calluses on the joints of the back of his hand. It can be seen that he was once a martial arts practitioner. There is a mahjong card placed next to the deceased. 7 of characters. Oh. Maybe he just died a natural death and someone stabbed. No. The body collapsed near the speaking tube. Yet the lid of the speaking tube is closed. Do we give her a different voice now? Elle, there are a few questions I would like to ask you about Old Ling. Ask away, Mr. Shen. What was Old Ling's relationship like with Hao Chu? One was reserved while the other had no inhibitions at all. Although they worked together, they rarely talked to one another. Who do you think would want to end their lives? I don't know about Old Hao, but I'm sure that family had something to do with Uncle Ling. Do you mean the Wus? Mr. Shen, you still remember the newspaper clippings on Uncle Ling's wall, right? He seemed to be really concerned with how the Wus were doing lately. John, please check your pockets. I just found this in mine. I have a 2 of characters Mahjong card on me. I'm sure you've already noticed the relation between the Mahjong cards and the order of death. Yes, I have. These cards symbolize provocations from the murderer. Every person who received the card has now become their prey. What should we do now? We must not sit idly by for death to dawn upon us. Shipmaster Lowe, please gather everyone at the dining hall immediately. People gathered in the dining hall where Shen recounted what just happened. John has already introduced the situation of the 3 homicide cases. The 9, 8 and 7 of characters appeared next to the 3 victims respectively. Earlier, John and I found Mahjong cards, the 2 and 3 of characters, in our pockets. These cards are most likely a countdown for the culprit's murder plan. I would like to ask you all to see if you have any cards on your person. Alright, who's the 6? What the? How did this card appear out of nowhere? 6 of characters, then wouldn't that mean that I'm the next target? I have a card too. It's the 5 of characters, right after Master Wu. My card is the 4 of characters. Mine is the 1 of characters going by order. It seems like I'm the last. Wait, who's the one before that? Oh, that was... okay. Names are confusing. That was her. So she is the 4 of characters. And he is the last one. It appears all of the missing character Mahjong cards are here. Well, Afu's having a grand old time, not being killed. Wait a second. How come all of you have cards, but I don't? Afu feels left out. Who knows? Isn't it because you're the one who placed them? He's so the murderer. So him. I don't have a card on me either. They're torturing me by making me watch as my passengers and crew are killed one by one. I mean, honestly, like, this feels the most likely as well at the moment. I mean, partially just going off of personalities. I think she could be a very fun twist, but I think it's unlikely. I think he's the most suspicious, and giving yourself the 1 is also like very in line with what I think is kind of typical for this scenario. Listen up, you murderer. If you want revenge, just come after me. Trapped in water, nails in coffins. This wasn't done by man. It's the Loon King. The Loon King is after our lives. Yeah, we know the story. Loon King? Loon King isn't after father's inheritance though, right, Simon? Liang Xing, you... Why would you say that? Are you possessed by something? Everyone, please, calm down. The supernatural aren't behind this, but a serial homicide has indeed taken place on this ship. For your own safety, please remain in the dining hall and assist our search for the culprit. Mr. Joseph, before you begin, we need to make sure that you're trustworthy. Shipmaster, Mr. Joseph is the new prosecutor of the Shanghai International Settlement. Nobody's more trustworthy than he is. Liang Qing, I know Mr. Joseph quite well. However... I understand your concerns, Shipmaster. How about this? I will organize discussions and entrust John with the task of deductions. Throughout this evening, John and I, as well as Mr. Wu Timan, have been in this dining hall. Shipmaster, I can also prove that Mr. Shen is a good person. Mr. Shen and Mr. Joseph have helped clear me of my suspicions, so I approve too. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Joseph, Mr. Shen, how do you two plan to find the murderer? The assassination technique and wounds of Old Ling and Madame Yin are exactly the same. This should be the work of the same murderer. Although Hao Chu's cause of death differs, a Mahjong card was also discovered next to him. In cases where consecutive crimes have been committed, time is the most crucial information. Therefore, we need to confirm the alibis of everyone here. Mr. Shen, what is an alibi? Any evidence that proves that you were not present at the time of the crime. And due to the relatively confirmed times of death of Madame Yin and Old Ling, I would like each of you to respectively state where you were, what you did, and evidence proving so during these two time periods. John and I will judge whether everyone has an alibi or not based on their statements. What if someone lies? If someone lies, there will be a contradiction between the testimonies to reveal who is lying. If there are no further questions, let's begin with Madame Yin's case. The last time we all saw Madame Yin was in this dining hall. Soon afterwards, she left the dining hall alone and returned to her cabin to rest. Then the power outage took place, causing Afu to trip over Madame Yin's body. Finally, power was restored, Miss Yinchu discovered the body and cried for help. Now, I would like everyone to talk about what you've been through from after Madame Yin left the dining hall to when power was restored. I told Mr. Shen that before the power went out, I met with Yincho once. My chest felt stuffy after the game, so I went back to my room to take my asthma medicine. Then Yincho asked me to teach her poker, but I refused because I wasn't feeling well. Is there anyone who can testify to what you said? Yes, there is. Afu came by saying he wanted to take some tool out from his cabinet. After Afu left, I went to the bow of the ship for some air. Liangxin can testify for me. I felt better after a while. Then, as I was about to return to my cabin, the power went out. It was really dark. I was alone and scared, so I went to the cockpit to find Liangxin. When power was restored, Liangxin escorted me back to my room and we found Yinqiu. Very well. Next, please. Before the power outage, I was preparing dinner in the dining hall until Elle came back. I brought congee to the shipmaster in Elle's place, then spoke with Yinqiu when I saw her. After I went back to the cockpit, I took over the helm for a bit, then the power went out. I was going to check it out, but Yinqiu came. She seemed scared, so I stayed with her instead. The rest is pretty much like what Yinqiu said, except I chased after Afu. It's hard not to suspect him when he looked so flustered, right? Very well. Next, Mr. Wu. What's there for me to say? I was at the dining hall before and after the power outage. You two both know that already. Next. I don't know when Madame Yin left the dining hall. Before the power outage, I was at the helm. During which Elle came by and Liangxin brought me congee. After the power outage, Miss Yinqiu came. She looked quite scared. She was in the cockpit until the power was restored, then Liangxin escorted her back to her room. And next. I was working in the dining hall, then Uncle Ling asked me to help in the engine room. What did he need your help with? He asked me to lend a hand while he repaired the joint of the condenser in the steam engine. Please continue. After that, Uncle Ling told me to look for old Hao, but I couldn't find him anywhere. Then the shipmaster made me get his congee, so I went back to the dining hall. From then on, I was with Mr. Joseph and Mr. Shen the whole time. Alright, last but not least, Afu. Is it finally my turn to speak? I've been wanting to speak so badly. Seems like Afu's tongue isn't that sharp yet. Can you all understand my testimony? Speak slowly. I will listen carefully. I was experimenting with my new invention, the vacuum glove box. I needed a vernier caliper, but it's in Madame Yin's room, so I went to get it. I remember Madame Yin was smiling while holding poker cards. Yinqiu looked unhappy. After getting what I needed, I went back to experimenting. Suddenly the power went out. I messed up and got my hand stuck, so I had to go get more tools from that room. Did you leave right away, or did you stay in your room for a while? I guess right away. I had a kerosene lamp close by, so I picked it up and left. I just walked out the door when I saw a figure run out from that room towards the bow. Did you get a good look at who that person was? It was too foggy. All I can be sure of was that I saw a figure. I didn't think too much about it and went inside. You all know what happened after. Very well. Everyone's testimonies just now were extremely detailed. Now, I'll leave it to John. But, gentlemen, the way I see it, everyone here has that alibi that you speak of. No. There is a contradiction between one of the first 5 testimonies and that of Afu's. Okay, needed a vernier caliper, but it's in Madame Yin's room, so you went to get it. That's fine. Madame Yin was smiling while holding poker cards. Yinqiu looked unhappy. Wait. Okay, no, that's fine. He went back to experimenting, but the power went out. Uh-huh. Left to get tools, but you saw a figure run out from Madame Yin's room towards the bow. Mm-hmm. Well, there's two potential things. Either this, because, like, him being in his own room is not really that relevant. So it's either the fact that Madame Yin and Yinchu were together there. This was before the lights turned out still. Can I check back on what Yinchu's testimony was? Okay. Wait. Before the power went out, she met with Yinchu once. Okay, Afu came by. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. As she was about to return to her cabin, the power went out. And she went to the cockpit. What did he do? He was preparing dinner in the dining hall until El came back. Spoke with Yinchu when he saw her. So he was technically, he claims to be in the cockpit at the time the power went out. Yinchu came, she seemed scared, so he stayed with her instead. I mean, the only part that it can be is this. Right? Wait. Let me go back once. So the power went out and he essentially immediately went to the room. Okay, that's what I want to do. That's an interesting thing. Because it kind of, I mean, it depends on what the game wants, because it's kind of dependent on the time frames. But her saying she was about to go back when the power went out, no one was around, and she was really scared, so she went to the cockpit. Afu said after the power outage, he kind of immediately went to go to her room. And I think if I understood the layout of the ship correctly, she should have seen him, I believe. Which kind of contradicts the no one was around part. And I'll sort of keep that in mind for now. I'll look if I can find something else. Yeah, because that technically is not a contradiction. Because she did go to the cockpit, but what we don't know necessarily is why and where she came from before. So I don't think anyone necessarily... Okay, so he ran into Yinchu before that. That is true. But there's still kind of a time frame that's missing there for her. He was at the dining hall. That's true. Then return to the dining hall to fetch Konji after food. Yeah, okay. I think it's this. Afu's statements. contradicts that of Miss Yinchu. Mine?
Huh?
Are you saying I said something wrong? During the power outage, Afu saw a figure run from Madame Yin's room towards the bow. And yet, even though you were at the bow, Miss Yinchu, you did not see anyone. I'm kind of proud of myself for figuring that one out. Maybe because it was too dark and foggy, that's why I didn't see them. It's a wooden deck. If someone ran towards the bow, you would have heard footsteps. Did you hear any, Miss Yinchu? Maybe that's the case. Yinchu, you're sounding a little guilty. I was too scared at the time, so I didn't notice. Gentlemen, I know what's going on. Go on then.
Huh?
Actually, there is a detail I forgot to say. The figure I saw left Madame Yin's room and went inside another room. Maybe Yinchu didn't see them because they hid inside Mr. Joseph's room. Mr. Shen, didn't you notice someone breaking into your room to steal something? Could it be the murderer? That could be possible. However, only a bottle of red wine is missing. I wonder why the murderer would steal it. It's okay if we can't draw a conclusion for now. Let's begin the second round of inquiry. The last time we all saw Old Ling was also in this dining hall. Not long ago, John discovered that he had been stabbed to death in the engine room. The weapon that killed him was the hairpin Yincho wore on her head. Since the hairpin had yet to be stolen during investigations of Madame Yin's murder scene, preliminary assessment shows that Old Ling's time of death was shortly after Madame Yin's. Now, I would like everyone to talk about what you've been through after leaving Madame Yin's murder scene. After the incident, Liang Xin brought Afu and me back to the cabin to rest. Afu didn't seem well, so I brought some pastries and cleaned the blood off his hands. Then I spent some time trying to remove the box from Afu's hand. Not long after Mr. Shen and Elle arrived. After Mr. Shen left, Afu and I stayed put until Shipmaster Lo assembled us. Very well. Next, please. After I helped Yinchu and Afu settle down, I reported to the shipmaster at the cockpit. When Mr. Shen and Elle came to investigate, we all saw Hao Chu's body fall down. I took over the helm while the shipmaster went out to assess the situation. You were alone in the cockpit for so long. Is there anyone who can prove it? Isn't the fact that the ship didn't overturn and feed you to the Loon King the best proof? Sure, you can't say that word on a ship. It's bad luck. Bad luck, I tell you. Which word? Overturn? You! Why'd you say it again? Take it back, or else it's a bad omen. Enough. Mr. Wu Teman, it's your turn to testify. Gentlemen, there's nothing for me to say, right? What? Feeling guilty? Guilty? Your big brother is the least guilty person on this ship. Ever since I left the room, I've been reciting scriptures on deck to keep the ship safe. Everyone on board has seen and understands my hard work and dedication, except you, Liang Xin. Well, don't know about that. That's enough. Next. While you were investigating Madame Yin's death, I was at the helm. After Hao Chu's body fell, I realized we were in danger and asked Liang Xin to take over. When Mr. Shen and Mr. Joseph were examining Hao Chu's body, I was by their side. Then Mr. Joseph asked many questions about Hao Chu and made me bring him to the cockpit. When no one responded to the engine telegraph, we went to the engine room together. When we arrived, Mr. Shen and Elle were already there. Very well. Next, please. I've been with Mr. Shen the entire time. We pretty much went to every single place on the ship. Alright, now the last one. After leaving the murder scene, I was resting inside the room. It was super quiet. I was feeling dizzy and wanted to sleep. But someone kept reciting scriptures. It wasn't that loud, but it was so annoying. Thank goodness Yinshu took care of me and helped me take the vacuum glove box off. Then the detective came, fixed my tongue and told us not to go outside. Very well. Now, everyone has provided new statements. Mr. Shen, is there anything wrong with the statements this time? Not everyone has explained everything they've been through fully. One person's description does not match the situation I saw during investigations. Yeah, I gotta read through them again. That is true. That is true. That is also true, I believe. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Well, the thing is, the last part, the part where we did the investigation, for me was a week ago. So I don't fully remember. What I 100% remember is that Afu stayed inside with Yinshu the whole time. That I remember. I remember we were with Elle the whole time. I remember this for sure as well. So the only possible contradictions are these two. And I mean, well, there's essentially two questions. Well, there's one question actually. And the question is this true? Because if this is true, then this is wrong. Did he ever leave that spot? Did we encounter him anywhere else? I don't think so. Which means that the part that I might question here is this one. Because Shen specifically said they didn't mention everything they did, and this is very vague. So I'll go with this. Okay, that's apparently wrong because otherwise the music would have stopped. Yep. Let me reconsider. Then it must be this then. Yeah, okay. I guessed wrong. The person who did not explain everything fully was you, Mr. Timon. Master Wu, you said you were praying for blessings on the deck the entire time, but Mr. Shen and I didn't see you on the deck when we headed towards the cockpit. Would? That was the first part, like after a black screen, wasn't it? I would have... would have required me to look back at the footage to see if... Because obviously here, he's out of frame. And if it started here, then I had no reason of knowing that. Because he's like all the way over there. And I do think, like, even if he was there, we wouldn't have been able to see him. So it's essentially an implicit situation where we were supposed to assume, because we didn't talk about seeing him, that he wasn't there, which I think is a bit of a stretch, but okay. A lot of preparations need to be done to pray to the Loon King for blessings. All the different gods need different offerings. There's no point in explaining it to you. I was busy with this and that on the deck. Maybe we missed each other. If Utaman was on the deck the entire time, what does the appearance of this item mean? This maybe? I don't remember where we picked it up. That's fine, that's fine. That's from Afu, that's irrelevant. The Mahjong cards are irrelevant for this. That's fine. That's fine. What does the appearance of this item mean? It has to be either... Okay. Now the problem with the word appearance is that it has a double meaning. The appearance of this item could either mean what it looks like or that it appeared somewhere. I'm kind of... I don't remember where we found this, but I'm kind of tending towards that. Mr. Timon, have you ever noticed that a copper coin is missing from your sword? Oh, ho, I didn't. The copper coin must have helped me dodge a bullet. Coincidentally, I found the missing copper coin. I now return it to you. You have my thanks. What's more coincidental is that I found it inside my cabin. Mr. Timon, how do you explain this? Well, that's... Timon, you're not the murderer that Afu saw into Mr. Shen's room, are you? Wu Liangxing, you ungrateful brat, don't you sling mud at me. I remember the copper coin was still on your sword when you investigated Madame Yin's room. The candlestick moved on its own. The Loon King is after our lives. I didn't see the copper coin. At the moment, I believe that you are not the person Afu saw. However, about you sneaking into my room, I need a reasonable explanation from you. After Yincho's incident, I did go to Mr. Shen's room, but I only did it for the safety of everyone on board. A Taoist priest told me that we needed to prepare 6 bags of pork for the Loon King. But there wasn't enough on the ship, so I had no choice but to mix in some pig ears and snout. I didn't want to risk angering the Loon King, so I borrowed the wine from your cabin. To be honest, I needed top quality aged wine. Using this foreign wine made me nervous. Where are these offerings now? I split them into 3 yin and 3 yang bags, then threw them all one by one into the river. What? You threw all the pork I stored into the water? And my red Bordeaux. How much did those things cost? I'll pay you. I was going to tell you, but you all seemed busy. Utaman should be telling the truth now. I saw him throw the offerings into the water. 1 bag to suppress the demons. One bag to remove ill fortune. Don't blame me, don't blame me. Here's an ample portion of pork, along with some pig ear and snout to pay our respects. If you choose to accept it, please clear away the bad omens in this water. If Wu Teman is telling the truth, then a contradiction exists in this statement. I mean, it has to be this, right? First Mate Wu, when you were escorting Afu, did you run into Mr. Teman? I left after I settled him down. I bet Teman was busy ransacking the dining hall. Borrowing. Don't use the word ransack when it comes to family. John, their descriptions don't seem to conflict with one another. But the thing is, because they both were inside the entire time, and Elle was with me the entire time, so that's the only other option. Is there? There isn't. But everything else is not... Okay, well, I mean... This is definitely true, and this is Afu, so... That's true. Wait. No. Afu says it was super quiet except for someone who kept reciting scriptures. I mean, this is, again, it's not really a contradiction, because Afu didn't say someone kept reciting scriptures the entire time, from moment, like, beginning of time to the end of time. But this is what the game wants. Afu, did you hear anything else besides the sound of someone reciting scriptures?
Huh?
Nothing else. That sound alone was enough to make me dizzy. Are you sure? I'm sure. If you were so focused on the noise outside your door, you must have also heard the sound of Mr. Wu tossing the bags of offerings and his shouting. One bag to remove ill fortune. Those sounds should have been more raucous. That's true. However, I really didn't hear the sounds that you speak of, Detective. How could this be? Maybe it was because I fell asleep? According to Afu's description, he must have fallen into unconsciousness due to vasovagal syncope. Afu, your testimony won't be taken into consideration, but this is crucial information. John, you know what this means. If Afu was unconscious within the time Madame Yin and Old Ling were murdered, someone is unable to provide a reliable alibi. Sorry, it's you. The person who is unable to provide a reliable alibi during two critical time frames is you, Miss Yinchu. Yinchu? Mr. Shen, could you two be mistaken? How could my sister possibly be the murderer? If Arthur was unconscious, this means that he cannot provide an alibi for Miss Yinchu. When Madame Yin was murdered, Miss Yinchu said she was alone at the bow of the ship. Other than her brief encounter with Mr. Liangxin, no one can prove it. Does that mean everyone else is innocent? John, please tell us how you came to this conclusion. Given the murderer's consistent modus operandi, especially the recurring mahjong cards, we can confirm that it is the same perpetrator committing these serial crimes. By confirming the alibis, we can rule out several suspects. In the Hao Chu's case, we cannot rule out anyone because too many details are unconfirmed. Madame Yin was killed after she left the dining hall and before Afu entered the room. We can rule out Wu Timan, Joseph Bell, Shen Chungping, who have remained in the dining room. Due to vasovagal syncope and other reasons, Afu has been proved innocent. Oldling was murdered after Madame Yin's body was moved and before I entered the engine room. We can rule out L, who was with me the whole time, and Wu Liangxin, who was at the helm. As well as Shipmaster Liu, who was with Liangxin half the time, and Joseph the other half. The only person who cannot be ruled out is Miss Yinchu. Yinchu, you're not possessed by the Loon King, are you? No, it wasn't me. I promise, I stayed inside the cabin the whole time. The sound of offerings being tossed into the water, I heard it. Miss Yinchu, I must remind you, hearing the sound of offerings falling into the water cannot prove you were in the room. You could also hear that sound from outside of the room. Then, what should I do? There is no need to be overly nervous. Carefully recall the people, places, and things that can provide you with an alibi. Okay. Please, provide a more detailed account of your experiences before and after the power outage. My chest felt stuffy after the game, so I hurried back to my room to take my asthma medicine. Then Yincho came, asking me to teach her poker, but I refused because I wasn't feeling well. We were talking when Afu came by, saying he wanted to get a tool. According to Afu, he said you looked unhappy. What happened? That was because Yincho messed up my suitcase, so I was upset. I understand. Please continue. After Afu left, I went to the bow of the ship for some air. I ran into Liangxing on his way to bring the shipmaster Konji, and we spoke a few words. I felt better after a while, then as I was about to return to my cabin, the power went out. I was alone and scared, so I went to the cockpit to find Liangxin. Miss Yinchu, from the bow to the cockpit, are you sure you did not meet anyone? I didn't notice. It was really dark, without a single spark of light. All I wanted was to find Liangxin. Thankfully, he was in the cockpit with the shipmaster. A contradiction exists between Miss Yinchu's description and this piece of evidence. Okay, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. I think the contradiction would probably come from here. But let me look at the pieces of evidence. Maybe it's referring to this. That's the only, like, piece of evidence that I think could even be relevant. Power outage was at 22:10 and the power was restored at 22:20. What are details for that? No. I think I'll go with that. Miss Yinchu, are you sure the surroundings were pitch black? Yes, I'm sure. You did not see a single spark of light at all? Yes, not a single spark. That is unreasonable. Afu was holding a kerosene lamp on the deck, and you were facing towards him. How could you have not seen a single spark of light? But I really didn't see any light. Mr. Joseph, Mr. Shen, my sister has always been afraid of the dark. If she really saw light back then, she wouldn't have been so scared. Maybe she entered the cockpit at a different time than Afu leaving his room. Both Afu and Miss Yinchu changed their courses of action right after the power outage. I guessed right away. I had a kerosene lamp close by, so I picked it up and left. When the power went out, I was scared and went to find Liang Xin in the cockpit. But it's impossible for them to act at the exact same time, right? A slight time difference doesn't invalidate John's theory. Eyes are sensitive to light in darkness. Heavy fog tonight, the moon and stars are hidden by clouds. After the power outage, Afu's kerosene lamp should have been the only source of light on deck. In this case, Miss Yinchu would have noticed the light when the lamp was inside the room. Then Afu must be lying. I believe Yinshu isn't lying, but what I said is also the truth. Afu says he walked out with the lamp and saw someone running towards the bow. Yet Miss Yinshu says she didn't see anyone or any light on her way to the cockpit. Could it be possible that they are both telling the truth? I just like the answer if they were both mistaken. Perhaps they are both mistaken and both firmly believe they saw what they saw. John, your reasoning goes without saying. The core of the question is, what did they get wrong? Could it be possible that they are both telling the truth? Yinshu had her back towards Afu. Afu saw Yinshu. I don't know. If Yinshu had her back towards Afu and her face towards the bow of the ship, she would be unable to see the light behind her. Then she did not go to the cockpit from the bow, but instead from Madame Yin's room. The person Afu saw was Yinshu. Miss Yinshu, you left from Madame Yin's room instead of the bow to go to the cockpit. That is why you did not notice the light from the kerosene lamp behind you. After you ran into Liangxin, there is a long period of time where you do not have an alibi. You lied and said you stayed at the bow, when in fact you returned to your cabin. It is very likely that you murdered Madame Yin during this time frame. No, that's not true. Mr. Shen, didn't Afu say he saw the murderer entering your room? Yinshu came to the cockpit. With all the fog at night, Afu could not tell which room Yinshu actually entered. Huh? That's true. Mr. Wu Timan breaking into my room to steal wine was after Madame Yin's incident. Other than that, there were no traces of a second person breaking in. Even if the person Afu saw was Yinshu, that doesn't mean that she's the murderer. Maybe all she did was go back to her room. If Yinshu was not the murderer, upon her return she would... I mean, all of that is kind of true, isn't it? Wait. Let me read through this again. After Yinshu left the room, Afu entered right after, finding Madame Yin dead. If Yinshu was not the murderer, she must have already discovered the body. Why did she choose not to tell Shipmaster Lo and Liangxin immediately? Miss Yinshu, what's the meaning of this? Did you already discover the body before you came to the cockpit? Why are you stuttering? I don't know what to say. Master Wu, stop scaring Yinshu. She's speechless. Detective, I don't think Yinshu is a bad person. You say that she's the murderer, then she needs motive, right? Why would she murder her own sister-in-law? Speaking of motives, I'm afraid it is related to this item left at the crime scene. Surely the suitcase, right? Yep. This is Yinshu's suitcase. She deliberately closed it before leaving the cabin. Thus, it can be seen that the belongings in the suitcase are very important to her. So, what does Yinshu care about inside the suitcase? I don't know. Wait, let me actually... Seems to have quarreled over this item earlier. The poker cards? No, I don't really know. What even is that? What about this? Because this feels relevant. There is an indentation here. Something has been taken away. It's the perfume bottle on the table. We've investigated this before. Oh, right. Gonna die. Screw it, I'm gonna go for this. We'll see what happens. Oh, does not seem relevant to this case. Whoopsie. Another homicide. Couldn't uncover the truth and another murder occurs soon after. Okay. Yeah. What other items do we even have? We have the jewelry? Whatever the hell this is, and the poker cards. You know what? Yeah, it was the poker cards. This deck of poker cards was originally in the hands of Madame Yin. I remember Madame Yin was smiling while holding poker cards. Yinshu looked unhappy. That is true. Yet after the murder occurred, it appeared inside the suitcase. Miss Yinshu, you were the one who placed them, correct? You did not wish for others to see this deck of poker cards, so you closed the suitcase. That's a bit of a joke. How could my sister kill someone over some poker cards? I have brought the poker cards over. If you look close enough, you'll discover something out of the ordinary about these cards. I believe this piece of evidence will show everyone the true purpose of this deck of cards. A hat pattern. The key lies in the pattern on the back of the cards. It's the symbol of Shanghai's famous magic organization, the Unique Magic Troupe. I knew it looked kind of familiar. I watched one of their shows called Telepathy a while ago. Tickets sold out easily. When that magician Unique Mo was performing telepathy, he was using cards just like these. Good memory, Mr. Liangxin. But what does this magic organization have to do with the homicide cases on board? Unless the magic organization is just a cover and they're actually pirates? That's possible. Other than Madame Yin, the stoker, Old Ling, and shipmate Hao Chu were also killed. The stoker? The what? There's no reason for Yinshu to kill them. Miss Yinshu's motive may relate to this evidence. Speaking of motives, I am afraid money is still involved. No, that's not true. My sister has always been well provided for, and our father left her a large sum of money. There's no way she would kill someone for money. What if she could lose her right to inheritance? What do you mean? Indeed, Miss Yinshu may not need the money. But the Unique Magic Troupe does. This is a newspaper clipping found next to Old Ling's bed. The Magic Troupe faces crippling financial crisis. Shanghai trip becomes Swansong trip. The props used in magic performances are rarely given to outsiders. Since the poker cards used by Unique Magic Troupe appeared near Yinshu, this indicates that she has a rather close connection with the Magic Troupe. Now the Magic Troupe is in financial crisis and in need of funds. No way, Father never liked these Westerner things. You can't spend our family money on this. Yinshu, you better shape up. Those who violate family rules will be deprived of their inheritance rights. I speculate that the conflict between Madame Yin and Yinchu may have originated from this. The conversation Arthur witnessed was not about poker, but about the inheritance. It's obvious Yinchu was after Yinchu's cut. Mr. Shen, what about Old Ling and Hao Chu? How do they fit in? Old Ling used to be a guard for the Wus. I found a newspaper clipping next to his bed. He seemed concerned with how the Wus were doing lately, and he was in need of money. Say no more. Perhaps Old Ling and Madame Yin conspired together and threatened Yinchu. I've seen Uncle Ling speak with Yinchu in private before. As for Hao Chu, we still cannot confirm the cause of his death. Therefore, I have yet to make a definite conclusion. Perhaps he was an accident that could be used, or a witness that was silenced. What about the mahjong cards each of us found on our person? The rest of us have nothing to do with this. Now we do. I presume the mahjong cards were a cover to create the facade of a legendary murder. It would be easier for the murderer to get away if everyone had fallen into chaos. The actual targets should be the 3 people who have already been murdered. John, do you have any basis for your deduction? The mahjong cards were placed next to the victims after their death. Everyone else's card was found on their person. Huh? And how did Yinchu put the cards on us? It should not be difficult for Miss Yinchu to place the cards on each of us. Huh? Are you saying my sister practices magic? Tch, it's bad luck to even talk about something vulgar like that. There's no way the Wu family could be connected with magic and witchcraft. The way I see it, all these bad things happening on board are a curse from that magic troop. Shut your mouth. I've wanted to talk about it a long time ago. It's not a big deal. I'm a member of the unique magic troupe. I go by the stage name Julia. My boyfriend is Unique Mo, the magician. Huh? Julia? You mean Unique's sexy assistant? That's right. It's me, your sister. You, as a lady from a respectable family, you make a fool of yourself dressed like that. Also, what do you mean by boyfriend? Without parental permission or a matchmaker, you went and eloped on your own? Woman's world has long advocated for freedom of marriage and love. Shut up! Where did you learn that filth? You're making Father turn in his grave. Father told me that he sent me to study abroad because he didn't want me to be trapped. He said that I should broaden my horizons and see the world. I don't know what honeyed words you said to make Father leave you so much money. But you violated family rules as an immoral and indecent woman. You lose inheritance rights. Master Wu, everything you just said cannot even be compared to magic. That is why what I truly love, what I pursue as a career. I enjoy the spotlight, the stage, the amazed looks on the faces of the audience. I also have a group of friends who share my dream. For them, I'm willing to give up everything. Okay, very well. Once we get home, I'll immediately call for a family meeting. You won't be getting a single penny. Enough. Whether or not Miss Yinchu has inheritance rights are the internal affairs of the Wus. But tonight, in this dining hall, there is a serial homicide case that needs to be solved. Therefore, Miss Yinchu, are you willing to honestly disclose what you've been through? Fine. Yinchu went through my suitcase and took out my poker cards, so we argued. When I asked for the cards back, she refused and told me to leave. I stayed at the bow of the ship for a while, then went back, only to find her dead. My cards were in her hands and all over the floor, so I put them away to avoid trouble. That's all I can say. I won't go into detail about the things I've already talked about. I don't know anything about what Mr. Shen said either.
And so you're saying you don't admit you're the murderer?
I wasn't the one who killed her. John, although your reasoning can be justified, there is indeed no clear evidence to prove that Miss Yinshu is the murderer. Miss Yinshu, may I ask you a few more questions? Go on. What were you doing the moment the power outage occurred? Putting away the cards and closing the suitcase? If it weren't for the power outage, I would have definitely noticed her sleeve. Miss Yinshu... Oh, right. There is a question you have never given a direct answer to. If you realized that Madame Yin was dead, why did you not report it immediately? At the time I really was scared senseless, and I didn't know how to handle the situation. When you first discovered the body, you were shocked, but you remained silent. Yet you screamed out in fear when you saw it the second time with Liang Xin. Why is that? The girl who would scream at a sight like that is the Wu Yinshu that Liang Xin knew. Were you the one who placed the Mahjong card inside the suitcase, Miss Yinshu? If my answer is yes, how would you reason, Mr. Shen? It depends on what else you say. So, is that your final answer? You can be the judge of that, Mr. Shen. Mr. Shen, why don't you take a break?
After all this talk, the two gentlemen should have a rest.
I agree. Work hard, play hard.
If the two of you are resting, what do we do when Yinshu goes crazy and hurts someone again?
Master Wu, Mr. Shen already said that Miss Yinshu won't hurt anyone anymore.
Maybe it's best that we tie her up first.
What do you mean by that, Wu Timan?
I'm only looking out for everyone's safety. What do you say, Shipmaster Lo? Well, it is necessary to take precautions.
Do what you must.
I'm sorry, Miss Yinshu. We don't have a choice.
Snob.